Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, hello everybody. Carrying on with the Christmas gifts from the kitchen theme here, I'm going to be making mincemeat tarts. Made with mincemeat that has no meat in it. Here in Atlantic Canada, popular mincemeat does have meat in it, either beef or, I think traditionally here it was deer meat, venison, after the hunting season was over, but as you probably know, I'm a vegetarian, and I prefer this anyway. I'm not making my own mincemeat, that is. The one that I'm using is called, brand name is President's Choice, which is an in-store brand name for a large supermarket chain here in Canada called the Superstores. I like that one very much. It's all fruit and very tasty, so I don't see any need to make my own. The ingredients are few. I'm going to make the pastry crust for the tarts out of pâte brisée. I think the name alone scares people away. There's nothing fancy about pâte brisée. It just means that it is a pastry, pie crust pastry, that is made with only butter as the fat in it, rather than shortening or lard or anything else. It's an all butter crust, and no more difficult to make than any other pie crust. Just has a nice fancy French name. And the ingredients that I'm using here are double. I will put a link down below to the pâte brisée recipe, and I'm doubling it because I think I'm going to need quite a bit more pastry than the recipe provides. So it is, once again I'm talking about here, I'll give you the doubling recipes, but you can find the recipe down below. It's 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, which is 320 grams. There would be a ½ teaspoon of salt, or a full teaspoon in this doubling, but I'm not adding that because the butter that I'm using is a salted butter, so I'm not adding any additional salt. I have used 3 tablespoons of sugar. You would eliminate that or use a lot less if the crust was going to be used for something savory like a meat pie or whatever, but this is a dessert item, so 3 tablespoons of sugar. And 2 sticks. That's 224 grams of butter, and as I said, mine is a salted butter. And also I will need 6 to 8 tablespoons of very cold ice water. So I'll get the food processor out and we'll get this started. Well, I think I'm about ready to go. That's the flour. And the sugar, and as I said before, there would have been salt, except I'm using a salted butter, so I'm not adding any additional salt. I've cut the butter into, oh, I don't know, roughly ½ cubes, I guess. It's still cold. You want the butter to be icy cold. Yeah, I think that's about what I want. There's small pieces of butter, I don't know, pea size or maybe even a bit smaller than that. And now on a slower speed I'll add the water. For me that will be 6 to 8 tablespoons of ice cold water, with 3 to 4 if you're using the half recipe. Sorry for the pause there. It helps, it starts better if you put the lid back on properly. 6 tablespoons of ice water. Let's see what I think of that. Yeah, I think that's pretty close, but maybe I'll add one more. I think that's better. I'll turn that out on plastic wrap and try to put it together into a solid mass. Well, I've overlapped 2 sheets of plastic wrap just because of the amount of pastry that I've made. I think one would be a real disaster. And all I do is try to bring it together using the plastic wrap. It seems to work fairly well. Now this will be refrigerated for at least an hour. Longer, and it doesn't really matter. You can do it one day and use it the next as far as that goes, but I will put this in my refrigerator now for an hour to let the butter sort of harden up again, and then we'll come back and hopefully make some tarts. Well, that's roughly half the pastry rolled out after it had been in the refrigerator for probably an hour and a half or more. I'm going to cut circles just using a biscuit cutter, cookie cutter, going with the scalloped edge, which probably won't be there when the tart comes out of the oven. That will probably vanish, but I used, I don't think this has, yes it does. This is a 98mm or 3 7/8 inch biscuit cutter. I keep checking to see if you can see what I'm doing. All I'm going to do is just push them down in to a muffin tin. I've got my oven preheating at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'll bring you back when I have 12 of those, hopefully. I guess I haven't really said, this is actually going to be a Christmas gift in a sort of a way. I'm invited to an annual Christmas potluck dinner party, and everybody that attends usually takes something sweet and something savory. So I'm taking mince tarts for the sweet, and I suspect I'll probably make a sourdough bread for my savory contribution, but these will actually be going as a sort of a Christmas gift, I guess. Well, there they are, and I have enough pastry left over that I can probably do 4 or 5 more in a second baking, which is good. I'll be able to eat one and nobody will notice that there's 11 instead of 12. Right now I'm going to put these pastry shells in the refrigerator again for about a half hour before I fill them and bake them. The oven is already preheated, but you'll get a much flakier pastry if it goes in the oven chilled. So 30 minutes from now I will put the filling in. Well, they've been in the refrigerator for a half hour, nice and chilly cold now. And I just put a good sized spoonful in each of the 12 shells and hope it doesn't boil over. I've seen these done with a second crust, like a little pie. Too much like work in my opinion. So I used my smallest biscuit cutter just to put a little piece of pastry on top and cut out these funny little round things. They've also been in the refrigerator for half an hour. Now these go in my preheated 350 degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Probably should start checking them around 20 minutes, just until they're nice and golden brown is all that's required. So I'll give you a look at them when they're ready to come out of the oven. Well, there they are, just lightly brown. I left them for the full 30 minutes at 350 degrees, but now they have to cool pretty much to room temperature before you can remove them from the muffin tin. Pastry is so soft when it's warm that they would just break up. So I'll show you the finished product when I get it out of the muffin tin. Well, I got 6 in the second baking, so altogether I have 18 tarts out of that much pastry. And if you notice, if you can pick it out there, the second batch are slightly smaller. I picked up the wrong biscuit cutter and didn't notice until I was putting them in the muffin tin that the pastry that I had cut was smaller. So I will choose one of the smaller ones and give it a try. Trying not to talk with a mouthful. Pastry is lovely and soft and flaky and buttery. And of course, I love the filling. It's one of my favorite things at Christmas time. Well, these will go in an airtight container and be refrigerated until I'm ready to take them to the party. They'll keep for a week or two in the refrigerator that way. Or they can be frozen if they last that long. Well, I hope you'll give these a try, and thank you very much for watching.